Hello and welcome back to Telecomando RC. We are going to continue our drag car build based on a Traxxas platform. So for those of you that have been following this build, what we did here is we took the chassis from a Traxxas Slash, that was our donor, and then we have our front end and rear end from a Traxxas Bandit VXL. We're using the GTR front shocks in the rear, and we're using just the stock front shocks in the front. If you watch the other builds, the other videos on the build, I explained why I ended up using the front GTRs in the rears instead. Today, finally picked up my aluminum hexes. They came in. I actually ended up buying, there wasn't much difference between the regular aluminum ones and these here STRC. These are actually for a Slash, so you will notice these are the rears, these are the fronts, these are actually thicker. But we're going to go ahead and install these here. So let me just go ahead and open them up, and then I'll show you the difference between the rears and the fronts. We are going to be installing the rears. That's all we need for this build. Now, the cool little thing is it looks like it comes with a little Allen wrench. So again, these videos are for those of you that are just getting started, are considering. So this Allen wrench may come in handy, although, as I always recommend, invest in good quality tools. All right, so let's go ahead and open this up. Now, I try not to use my Lexan scissors if I can avoid it, just to keep them sharp for bodies, so always carry a blade. I like to cut any area. This is actually sealed, so if I take the cardboard off, still have to cut the bag. Just recycle the paper. But anyway, so I'm just going to cut over here. I don't want to cut or damage any of my components. Get your fingers out of the way. I am not going to be using this here because, as you all know, if you've been watching the channel, invest in good quality tools. I'm going to be using my MIP, which is what I generally recommend. Unless you already have some snap-on tools or Blue Point tools, Matco, etc. So this here, I'm going to go ahead and cut. I do not cut on this table. I actually have a cutting board nearby. So that being said, I don't like cutting up my table. For those of you wondering why I'm not using a mat, I'm not using a mat because this shows better on the camera. All right, here we go. So these are the rear hexes. So the rear hexes are thinner. The front hexes are a bit thicker. So I'm only going to cut one of these out. And there's only two little screws that are provided. So you can actually use these for offset. Oh no, I'm mistaken. There's actually four little oppressor screws, or set screws, depending on what you call them. So you do get all four. Good. And this was sealed in a strange way. There we go. So, as you know, for Traxxas Slash, the offsets are different for the front and the rear. So here in the camera, you can see the difference. So we're not going to be using the fronts, we're going to be using the rears. And this is what we're going to end up using. So we are going to need our pins. Now, if your pins become magnetized, as I explained before, it's a good idea to have a few magnets away from your electronics, just in case these parts roll, we'll catch them. If you have anything that's ferrous and becomes magnetized, just drop it and it'll lose it. So there we go. Now, I'm not going to be using the nuts that came with the Bandit originally. I'm actually going to use these aluminum serrated nuts. And the reason why I'm going to use these serrated nuts is they hold the wheel better. One of the things that you're going to notice with Bandit, Slashes, etc., especially once you bump up the system, you go to a brushless and you're running higher speeds or more torque, is the wheel will actually come off. So so the factory nuts, they don't really have much of a serration on them, so the nut will actually come loose, and what's going to end up happening is, well, you're not going to run. But if you end up using the aluminums, it'll be more pronounced with the aluminums. With the aluminum hexes is the aluminum hex, because the wheel will actually come loose, this hex will spin and it will destroy the inside hex of the wheel and will round it out, and then your wheel's worthless. I mean, I guess you can put it in the front if you have a slash with the RPM offset compensating arms. You could run them in the front and then it wouldn't really matter. But in the rear, that's something that happens, so you don't want them coming loose. The other reason why we're going with the aluminum instead of the plastic hexes in the rear is plastic hexes actually wear out, especially with power. If you're just running 2S, they will be fine for a while, but after some time, the plastic hex will actually start to round off, and then it will slowly damage itself as well as your wheel. So you really don't want to damage your wheels if you don't need to. So just get serrated nuts for the rear, and then get some aluminum hexes as well. So here, the only thing that we have to do is we have to install these pins, and go ahead and install them horizontally. For me, this is the easiest way to go. The first thing I forgot to do is add the shim. So let me add the shim there, it'll just protect the bearing. And I have my shims here. So I'm going to go ahead and just place the shim while holding the shaft. I generally hold it back here so I can press in the shim, and then put the pin in horizontally. The reason why I'm saying horizontally is if you put it vertically, it's just going to fall through, so you don't want to be holding that. Then after that, the main thing you want to do is just get these pressure screws ready. So you get your little set screw, just place it in your driver, and then once it's placed on your driver, then you can use a little bit of Loctite. You don't need much, and then just put a little drop on there, just so it's there, and that's it. And remember, use blue Loctite, not red Loctite. And then once that Loctite is there, go ahead and set it in here. And generally what I will do, it'll be difficult for you to see, but I'll put the screw in, and then once I can barely see it, I'll back it out just so it's ready. And I'm going to line this up horizontally as well, so this little portion, see that little groove, set it horizontally, that's where the pin is going to go in. And again, hold the shaft, although at this point the pin's there so you don't really need to. And then you just install the hex, and that's all you do. And you're going to be doing the same thing on the other side. Make sure you tighten the hex as well. I'm going to do that shortly, but you're going to be doing it to the other side, this other side as well. All right, so let's go ahead and tighten up this hex. And do not over tighten. This is aluminum. You don't want to mess up the threads in there. So let's move on to the other side. Now, if once you have one on, to be honest, you can just put the wheel in. So just set the wheel, and then you can just lay it on the wheel, and you can work on it this way. This works as well. So I'm just gonna push this. I'm holding the shaft so it doesn't slide back. Insert, oh, again, forgot the shim. Add the shim. There we go. Pin goes in there. If you need to use needle nose pliers, you can use some needle nose pliers to stick it in there. For some reason you can't hold on to it and grab it. But if not, then just use your fingers and slide it in. The nice thing about working on it this way flat is because the shim is there, you can use the shim to kind of help you line up the pin and set it in the hole. So again, I'm just going to grab this, just a little dab of thread lock. If you use Loctite, go ahead and use Loctite. Loctite is a very, very good brand. I'm actually, right now I just use the thread lock that came with one of my kits. And right now I'm just looking at it, looking for that screw, and it shows. I'm backing it up a little. And now that I've backed that, I'm just going to line this up. Even if you don't line it up properly, say it's like this, you can just turn and it'll drop in. So that's the other nice thing about this. Let's see. Let me just set it this way and I'll show you in the camera. All right, so horizontal, that way it doesn't drop. So again, say you don't line it up correctly. All right, it's like that. Just turn it and it'll snap in place. All right. So once that is in there, again, hand tighten. Do not over tighten. And as always, use good quality tools. All right, perfect. So now at this point, you can go ahead and grab one of the nuts and run it in here. Now the driver that you need for the oppressor screws is a 1.5 millimeter driver. And for the wheel nut, your 7 millimeter nut driver, which is what we have right over here. And just hold the wheel in place and then hand tighten. Do not over tighten, you can damage the wheel. There we go, so we have one. Now we grab the other tire, and these tires are not directional, but once I start running them, I am going to probably make a little mark just so I can tell the left from the right apart. And there we go. So finally, after so many videos, my wheels are on and they're not falling out. For those of you that were wondering why I was not installing them, it was because I had not yet gotten the aluminum hexes. So I did not want to install something to just install something else to remove it again. But anyway, that's it on the hexes. In the next video, I am going to be installing the wheelie bar on this car, and I'll be talking about wheelie bars. So thank you so much for watching Telecomando RC, and I'll catch you in the next one. Make sure you like and subscribe and hit that bell. Thank you for watching. Be good.